welcome to episode number 5 of the Scsl. Our League 1 game today is our first user showdown in League 1, and it'll be Eel Ninjask, EJ, your Indiana Hoosiers are at home taking on Super Ninja's Mississippi State Bulldogs. We saw Mississippi State in week 1 when they lost to Oklahoma State, but we're going to see them again here in Bloomington, Indiana, as we get ready for this user clash. And early on, that'll be picked. They jumped around, and that's going to be returned for a house call. An early pick 6 to open the scoring, and Cameron Dantzler and the Mississippi State defense will get the Bulldogs on the board first. Later on 4th down, Indiana would go for it, throw it incomplete. It's still 7-0. And later on, Indiana's got the ball again. Their defense is shut down Mississippi State for the most part, but that'll be picked off again. The second interception of the first quarter for this Mississippi State defense. Later on, they would drive down the field, and Kareem Walker would get into the end zone for a 4-yard touchdown run. It's 14-0 Mississippi State here toward the end of the first. Going back, that was nearly intercepted again, but instead Luke Timian will make the catch, cut up field, pick up 17. First down for the Hoosiers, and they would eventually settle for a field goal try after driving inside the 10. And the kick would split the uprights, and it's an 11-point ball game as Mississippi State will march right back down the field. A broken tackle there, and into the end zone goes Keaton Thompson. And Mississippi State extends its lead later on here late first half. Drive and throw in end zone. That's intercepted. The third turnover of the first half for this Mississippi State defense. And Indiana gets no points after driving down the field before halftime. On a 3rd and 14 here, early third quarter, Stephen Guidry gets open for a gain of 28. Mississippi State would march down the field and settle for a field goal try as that kick is through the uprights. It's a 21-point ball game here late third quarter. And going to keep it himself right there as Indiana has the ball. They're moving that one into the red zone. Peyton Ramsey, a big gain on the read option. He'll hand it off to Stevie Scott, and he'll finish it off with a touchdown run. 3-yard strike, and it's a 14-point ball game. But this Indiana defense suddenly cannot stop Mississippi State, as it's now 2nd and goal here, 3:18 left. And going to cut that one into the end zone is Kareem Walker again. His second touchdown of the day makes it a 31-10 ball game. 4th and 4 here. And Ramsey going to just throw that one away. No chance to even convert there. And that would do it for this ball game. Mississippi State wins 31-10 over Indiana. Ramsey did not have a great game. Scott was all right. 17 carries, over 70 yards, a touchdown. But really, him and Luke Timian were the only highlights there on offense for the Hoosiers. You can see a sack for Stallings, the 4th. And no turnovers for the Indiana defense, but their kicker did make their only field goal try of the game. Thompson had an efficient outing, 14 of 16, 103 yards. Walker had 80 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. Thompson had 9 carries, 70 yards, and a score. And so the run game did plenty well enough to win this ball game, even if the passing game wasn't super electric. Today, defensively, Smitherman had 3 tackles for loss. Pickering had a sack. Picks for Cole, Dantzler, and Williams, and Dantzler had the pick 6 to begin the game. And Chris Min made his only field goal tries. Now we move on to the rest of the League 1 games. And Texas A&M beats Arkansas 28-16. Nolan went 14 of 38, had a touchdown and a pick. Boyd had 68 yards on the ground and a touchdown. Not much to write home about in the receiving game, pretty balanced. And you had a forced fumble by Bell for the Razorback defense. You also had a pick for McClure. So 1 turnover and a forced fumble that was not recovered by Arkansas. And Maryland will lose this one to Nebraska 4-17. Kasem Hill went 19 of 51, 211 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions, 2 of which were returned for touchdowns. So those 2 pick sixes in the first half, too much to overcome. Davenport had 8 catches, 122 yards, and a touchdown, though. And defensively, Watson and Underwood led the Terrapins in tackles, and they both had a forced fumble and fumble recovery. Ellie had a forced fumble as well, and Davis had a fumble recovery. So 3 turnovers for the Terrapin defense, but they were unable to get the win in Lincoln. As Virginia beats Pitt, Pickett had an okay game, 177 yards, 1 score, 1 pick. Not much to write home about in the run game, though. And Kerrigan had 4 catches, 66 yards, and a touchdown, 6 for 85 for French. And defensively, 10 tackles for Brightwell. You have an interception from Jackson. And, not much else on the defensive front. And Kessman made both of his field goal tries. And Louisville, Colin, my guy, you beat Florida International 30-17. Pass went 21 of 44, 352 yards, 2 scores, no picks. He also had 14 carries for 51 yards. Smith, 5 catches, 111 yards. 5 for 73 for Wilson, 3 for 80, and a touchdown for Fitzpatrick. And defensively, you can see an interception for Smith. So 1 turnover for the Louisville defense. Kreck made both of his field goal tries. And Ohio State hangs on against Wisconsin. They win 23-20. Fields went 14 of 43, 208 yards, 2 scores, 2 picks, a 79.2 QB rating. Really nothing to write home about in the run game at all. Mack had 5 catches, 96 yards, and a touchdown, 3 for 45, and a score for Victor. And defensively, you had 9 tackles for Borland, plus a sack. And a fumble recovery for Warner, a forced fumble for Browning, and a pick for White. So 2 turnovers for the Buckeye defense in the win. As we move on to the League 2 game, and for the second week in a row, we're traveling to Athens, Georgia, as the Georgia Bulldogs and AP are getting ready to take on conference opponent LSU, number 10 versus number 17 here. Georgia's 1-2 after beating Nebraska in a user showdown last week. And you can take a look at the season defensive ranks for both teams here. Should be a pretty good game here under the lights in Athens. And we're already mid-first quarter. 2nd and 1 here. They're looking out, going deep. That's going to be intercepted by LSU. And they're going to return that one across the 30. First turnover of the day. And Jake Fromm going to be picked off by Greedy Williams there. He gets victimized by the Tigers. LSU would not be able to score. And now going back for it later on, the end of the first quarter here. That'll be intercepted. Victimized again by the LSU secondary is Fromm. And 3rd and 4 here. That'll be picked off. Burrows intercepted himself right there, and Georgia's defense gets a turnover of their own. And that is Webb with the pick. Then on it would be 4th and 9. They would send on Blankenship for the field goal try. That would doink off the uprights and no good. And so back to pass. That's intercepted. And 4 interceptions here combined for both teams here in this first half. And still a scoreless ball game. They'll go to the screen right there. That'll work. He's got a block, and he's into the end zone. Goes DeAndre Swift. 15 yards on the halfback screen. Opens the scoring here and gives Georgia the lead. So we're down to a minute here, first half. They'll throw. That's intercepted. Picked off. 3rd interception of the day for this Georgia defense. 5th pick combined between the 2 teams, and that's Campbell with the interception. They drive down 1st and goal, knocked away almost, but instead it's caught for the touchdown by George Pickens, the wideout. And it's 14-0, but LSU would drive down the field. The field goal try is up and good. And it's a 14-3 ball game at the half. 2nd and 9. Rolling out, going to throw across his body. Deflected and intercepted. The 4th interception of the day by Joe Burrows. And Georgia would take advantage, drive down the field, and the field goal try would be up and good. It's a 14-point ball game here late 3rd quarter. Right there, Joe Burrow going to keep it himself for an 11-yard touchdown run. Cut it to a 7-point ball game. Here, mid-4th quarter, Burrow will keep it himself again, an 8-yard touchdown run, his 2nd rushing score of the day. He's got no touchdown and 4 picks in the passing game, though. And later on, LSU driving into field goal range with that one catch right there. However, terrible clock management. They're not calling any of their 3 timeouts, and they don't even get a snap off. What is LSU thinking? Awful clock management leads to overtime, and on the first play of overtime, Burrow rolling out, throws intercepted. Burrow's picked off. He's victimized for the 5th time today. And 7 combined interceptions for these defenses, 5 for Georgia. And on 2nd and goal, Fromm back to pass, throws it nearly intercepted. Fromm almost threw it away. They had the win in the palm of their hand. Just kick the field goal. What are you doing? And that's almost picked. Back-to-back times, Fromm is nearly intercepted, trying to throw the game away. But instead, they do ultimately kick the field goal. And Georgia will win this one 20-17. But let me tell you, they sure tried to give the game away. They saw LSU's terrible clock management to get into overtime and the interception on the first play of overtime. They thought, let me one-up you. I know we only need a field goal and it's 2nd and goal, but let's throw back-to-back passes and nearly be picked off both times. That would have been something else. But instead, no, Georgia ultimately gets it together enough to win. Webb with 2 picks, 3 others had an interception. So 5 total picks for this Bulldog defense. And Blankenship went 2 of 3 on field goal tries. Made a 57-yarder at one point during the game. As we check out the rest of the League 2 games, Michigan beats UConn 38-20. Patterson 13 of 47, 385 yards, 3 scores, 2 picks. And not a ton to write home about in the rushing game there. But receiving-wise, your player of the game will be McKeon, who had 11 catches, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns. Peoples-Jones had 7 catches for 73 yards. Charbonnet had a receiving score. And defensively, you've got an interception for Metellus. And, really nothing else defensively. But they get the win. Nebraska, the Huskers beat the User Terrapins 14-3 here in League 2. 12 of 27, 160 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception for Adrian Martinez. 18 carries, 132 yards, 7.3 yards per carry for Divino Zigbo. And your player of the game is Stanley Morgan, 7 catches, 114 yards, 2 touchdowns. Defensively, 12 tackles for Dedrick Young. Luke Gifford had 11. And an interception for Markel Dismuke, 2 picks for Trey Neal, and an interception for Antonio Reed, and 1 for DiCaprio Boodle. So 5 interceptions for the Black Shirts, and that plays a key role in getting the win as Pickering missed all 3 of his field goal tries. Boise State beat Southern Miss to improve to 3-2. They've won 3 straight after dropping their first 2. Not a great game for Bachmeier, but 20 carries, 106 yards, and 2 touchdowns for Alexander Madison. And Madison is your player of the game. Monster had 9 catches for 102 yards. And defensively, not much to write home about tackle-wise. But 2 fumble recoveries for Horton, a forced fumble for Frazier, and a forced fumble for Nawahine. And so the 2 turnovers for Boise State will help them get the win. Hogarth went 1 for 3 on field goal tries. And Penn State holds on against Rutgers. They survived the upset bid. Not much to write home about in the passing game. Slade, 28 carries, 163 yards, and a touchdown. And he's your player of the game. Very vital. And having a great ground game there for the Nittany Lions as they hold on for the 3-point win against Rutgers. A forced fumble for Johnson, a fumble recovery for Brown, and a fumble recovery for Joseph. And Pinegar made both of his field goal tries in our final game this week. Cal upsets Oregon 37-24. Oregon falls to 2-2 on the year. No interceptions as both backups are playing while Justin Herbert is out with an injury. But not much to write home about in the run game or the receiving game, really. But Red will be your player of the game. 6 catches, 62 yards, and a score. And you had an interception and a pick six, in fact, for Winston Jr., but not really much else to write home about defensively. And so that will do it for me, you guys. And I will see you guys next time. Have a great day, everybody.